This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya, from the Fortune School of Government. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at some of the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 14th of October, 2022, and I'm Tuel.
I am DK.
And I am 2J, and in case you missed today's headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, RUTO recalls MOI's cars and staff. In the Standard, RUTO's power structure. The Star, Kinoti lied over judge, top DCI cop confesses. And the People Daily, storm over Mudavadi's prime CS job. Every day is like a movie.
It's a movie.
Recently, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now, it is 30 days since RUTO took over power. And just from his 30 days in power, you can paint a picture of where we are headed. In fact, you don't have to paint a picture. We already have a template, and that template is from the year 1991 in Russia. Following the fall of the Soviet Union, Russian President Boris Yeltsin did two things. One, just like RUTO, he removed price subsidies. And two, he rolled out a massive privatization program. I will not speak about subsidies today. I will focus on privatization. This week, William Ruto told us we need to accelerate privatization of state corporations. On this, we are with him. We have said it on this table before, that government is too large. We need to shrink it. But when I saw the list of 26 approved state corporations set for privatization, it occurred to me that maybe it is not downsizing. It's maybe about wealth creation. Herein, I must say, the 26 companies were not earmarked by the RUTO regime. They were earmarked in 2009 when Kibaki's cabinet approved the 26 state corporations for privatization. This is captured in Gazette Notice number 8739 of August 14th, 2009. Back to the Yeltsin privatization program in Russia. In just 2 years, manufacturing plants, oil refineries, steel companies, mines, media outlets, biscuit factories, you name it, were in a few years turned into private enterprises. Between 1992 and 1994, about 15,000 state-run enterprises went private. It was to date the biggest transfer of state assets to private owners in world history. But more importantly, privatization created a new wealth class in Russia. This new class of moneyed men are what is referred today as Russian oligarchs. Boris Berezovsky, Roman Abramovich, Oleg Deripaska, Vladimir Putin, Alisher Usmanov are some of the men who came from poverty and made their wealth from purchasing Russian state companies for a song. And they were all tethered to the state. Berezovsky and Abramovich were actually the money men that helped Putin in power. These men became so wealthy, they literally had wealth equivalent to some country's GDP. Chelsea Football Club, owned by Roman Abramovich, has a total value of $11 billion, which is Rwanda's entire GDP. So a point here, should RUTO privatize the 26 companies, Kenya will produce Africa's newest oligarchs. The conservative value of the 26 entities on that list is about $35 billion, or about 4 trillion shillings. This is equivalent to the combined GDP of Botswana and Mozambique. Kenya Railways alone has an estimated value of $10 billion. It's on that list. Should we privatize these 26 state assets, we will have Kenyans buying football clubs in Europe. Kenyans will actually buy homes next to Kensington Palace in London. And there's nothing wrong with that. After all, the African state is constructed to be extractionist in nature. At independence, the factors of production were land, labor, and capital. The first four regimes have dominated those three factors. The RUTO regime must create their own factor of production, the fourth factor of production, and that's the state.
Scary stuff.
Talking about Russia, remember RUTO got his vaccine from Russia. My thoughts today are inspired by the Daily Nation, which is reading that RUTO is recalling MOI's cars and stuff. And in 2018, the posh MOI family did RUTO Madharau 101. When he visited visited Kabarak to pay homage to the ailing late Mzee Moi, the family kept a whole sitting deputy president waiting for more than 2 hours in the parking lot. Later, Gideon Moi, rocking a designer t-shirt, white shorts and Gucci sandals, went to RUTO with a note. And the note read, "Pole, Mzee is with Daktari. You won't see him today." A humble RUTO who had gone to say probably his last goodbye to Moi was sent away. The Moi family insulted the constitutional office of the deputy president and treated a future president with contempt.
Very sad.
At this point, I want to invoke the spirit of revisiting.
Amen.
I will hypothesize that when RUTO left the Kabarak parking lot, he must have said to himself, "We shall revisit." 4 years later, RUTO is the president. Now, to the Mois, we remind you that payback is here. At Fort Hall School of Government, we take a moment to recall the words of a philosopher who said, "The universe does not carry debts. It always returns back to you what you gave to it." Indeed, what goes around comes around.
Absolutely.
And bear in mind that Moi himself had been continuously humiliated as Jomo's deputy. Unfortunately, the Mois missed a God-given opportunity to redeem the Moi-RUTO tattered relationship. RUTO arrived clothed in humility, but Gideon was blinded to any future scenarios outside of his own secure position of the moment. Contempt, they say, is a far greater insult than any kind of crime. In the same spirit of revisiting, I have a story for Gideon Moi and any other short-sighted politician who might lack the grace of human kindness. It's a story of a bird that fell from the 10th floor of a city building. As it passed each floor on its way down, it exclaimed, "All is well." And all was well on each floor until the bird landed on the pavement. It crashed and died. Like this bird, the Moi family has been surviving by grace alone from the 10th floor since 2002. And each time they pass a floor or an election, they tell themselves that all is well. But Gideon forgot the hard pavement awaiting him below. Politics, remember, is the school of hard knocks. And now, I have a random thought on this. It is dedicated to the Kikuyu elite. And because Rigiji might become president in 2032 or before, when he comes to pay homage, please treat him well. Remember, the foxes have taken the throne from the lions. Being kind is your only insurance into the foxy future.
Oh, wait. All right.
Absolutely.
So this year's Jamhuri Day is going to fall exactly on RUTO's 100th day in office.
Yeah.
And we want to give you a sneak peek into the speech he will be giving the nation. First, President RUTO is going to give us a progress report. He will make it seem impressive, but in reality, he will have achieved little. Next, he will begin the undoing of bottom-up economics. And this is because he has realized that his promises to the hustler nation are simply not feasible. The question is, how exactly will he sell this to the public without causing an uprising? He will convince us by blaming Uhuru Kenyatta. But in order for country to buy into this, he must start convincing us now. He has 70 days to persuade us that life is hard and Uhuru is to blame. This is conditioning. And it was first tested on dogs. So there was a man by the name of Ivan Pavlov, and he was a Russian scientist. and he was the son of a village priest. In 1870, he abandoned his religious career and went into science.
Right.
His experiment on drooling dogs actually won him the Nobel Prize in 1904. But in this experiment, he noticed that whenever a dog encountered food, saliva poured out of its mouth freely. But he wanted the dogs to drool without food. And so he began a process of conditioning them.
Yeah.
His first action was to give a lab coat to the person who fed them. With time, the dogs began to identify the lab coat with food. Each time they saw a lab coat, they dribbled with saliva, although there was no food. Then he went to the next level. He rang a bell during mealtime. And with this, the dogs began to associate the bell with food.
Right.
At the mere sound of the bell without food, they responded by salivating. He had conditioned their reflexes to respond to what he wanted.
Yeah.
And so, is it possible that President RUTO is conditioning the country the same way Pavlov conditioned his drooling dogs? And that country is being conditioned to accept pain. And better yet, to associate that pain with Uhuru Kenyatta. If we are conditioned to believe that this was not RUTO's doing, but rather that his hands are tied, is this how he will escape in delivering the hustler dream? And it's quite brilliant, actually. RUTO has two problems in front of him. One created by Uhuru, and the other he created himself. The cost of living has become untenable. Fuel prices are at historic highs. Meanwhile, high-profile court cases are being thrown into the wind for the rich to get richer. Is it a coincidence country is being pushed to the edge? We think not. Our suffering is being choreographed to benefit RUTO. Just wait and see. So on that note, we have a three-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines by. We ask ourselves, is this headline topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking, and finally, thoughtful or just plain lazy? So, People Daily storm over Mudavadi's prime CS job. Can I just come out and say we don't really care? So we're going to toss the PD.
Oh, one time.
The Star, Kinoti lied over judge, top DCI cop confesses.
We don't care.
We also don't care. But we miss you, Kinoti. We do. Toss it. We're left with the Daily Nation, RUTO recalls MOI's cars and staff, and the Standard, RUTO's power structure.
Daily Nation.
Yeah, but there has been some advancements on RUTO's power structure, have there not?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think he's gone ahead and, I think on Wednesday we said that Josephat Nanok, who'd been appointed as State House Comptroller, has now been appointed Deputy Chief of Staff. The new State House Comptroller is Kato Ole Metito, who was once Interior Security Minister for Mwai Kibaki. There is a State House spokesman, and that's Hussein Mohammed. And I think Munyori Buku as he's called it PPS, Presidential Press Service. It's not PSU again, and that's the chief boss there. That is the RUTO state. Now the new money man is Kato Ole Metito and not Josephat Nanok. I wonder what happened therein.
It's a bit of a demotion.
Yes, but I think what the consideration there was that every State House Comptroller must be some form of an administrator.
Yes.
Kato Ole Metito was an administrator in the Interior Ministry. If we want the money man, and he's a paymaster, and we said Josephat Nanok would take over the office of he'd take over the office of Kinodia Bogo. He's a money guy. He's a man he's a paymaster. And you need an administrator to run that kind of office.
I would love to see the account book for the Office of Comptroller. Deep pockets.
Deep pockets. That's
All
where
right.
the money is.
So I think we toss the Standard and we give the winning headline to the Daily Nation. RUTO recalls MOI's cars and staff. Who is next?
Absolutely. And
Right.
that's the whole point. That's the whole point.
The whole point.
If he can do that, he's telling you I have options to take out your security staff, in whether it's constitutional or not.
Yeah, I think he was using the MOIs as a test ground because MOI has passed away.
Yeah.
Are the Kenyatas next? Kibakis? Who knows? We'll see. Okay, so that gives us our winning headline from the Daily Nation. On to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country, where we also have a three-part criteria. We ask ourselves, is the cartoon humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, and finally, effective or just plain lazy? I say, let us begin with the Star.
The Star is a caricature of Kalonzo Musyoka and Raila overbearing or being above him, and it's talking about the making of an opposition chief. Now, in this cartoon, Kalonzo is being drawn trying to fit into the shoes of Raila Odinga. Question, is Raila going anywhere?
Well, he's quite old, isn't he? And I think maybe this is their succession plan of sorts.
I don't think there's any opposition to William Ruto. He's got total control.
Yeah, I know. I would agree with that.
Total control.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have drawn the shoes, torn shoes, because I think Uhuru Kenyatta really tore into opposition politics. Really. You don't know where the opposition is. So
What
I don't
they look like.
know what Kalonzo will be trying to inherit from Raila.
All right, I say we put that in the parking lot while we look at the Daily Nation.
Daily Nation, you have Ndula there, caricature of Aisha Juma, Mithika Linturi, and Ben Chumo, and they're being helped out of a hole by DPP Haji. You know, the hole has a mountain of coins in it, and it's labeled Chapter 6. And I think the context of this is, and I do not know what has caused this.
Yeah.
I have not seen DPP's, district DAs, district attorneys across the world withdrawing cases in the
So
manner
rapidly.
in which DPP Haji has done it. And more so for Ruto allies. I mean, whether they're guilty or not, that's one thing. That's one thing, you know. But the speed at which he's doing it,
Yeah.
in the frequency at which he's doing it, something must be, you know.
Yeah.
And do you think he's doing it out of his own volition? That
Oh,
he just
no.
discovered?
Oh,
And,
no.
just to
Instructions.
think about it, if you thought about it, the prosecution relies on orders of DPP to charge these guys, all right? Because the guys who appear in court as prosecution are DPP's lawyers. You know, these are DPP's people.
Yeah.
Therefore, what really changed, you would ask yourself, that he would suddenly just choose to withdraw these cases.
State capture,
State
right?
capture.
If we ever saw it. I want to look at the Standard very quickly because they speak too much of the same thing. So here we have EACC and we have Haji here, grand corruption cases, and then we have a dog, very randomly placed dog. And the dog is saying grand corruption cases, it says freedom. Here are record cases to be withdrawn in the first 100 days of the new administration.
Does that look like Pablo's dog?
Oh my goodness, I mean, that might be Pavlov's dog, exactly. Is this going to be the only achievement of Ruto's first 100 days? A record number of cases being withdrawn. And I think we go back to what we also said yesterday. At what point did Kenyans become all right with this kind of stuff? When did we become a country where Chapter 6 in our constitution means nothing?
Yeah.
EACC means nothing.
Yeah.
Corruption cases mean nothing. I think that's something we're going to have to reckon with in the future.
Yeah,
But just on the basis of this random dog,
yeah.
I suggest that we toss the Standard cartoon. Gamzo, do better,
All of
please.
them.
You want to toss all
All of them,
cartoons?
all of them, all of them. No,
All right.
we just remain with the nation.
With the nation? Fair enough. 2M has spoken. He wants to get his weekend started. So on that note, we have a winning headline from the Daily Nation and a winning cartoon from Ndula of the Daily Nation as well. Have a lovely weekend. Don't forget you can also find us on your TV screens. We are on Pang, Free to Air, Go TV and Star Times. Have a lovely weekend and we will see you on Monday.
God bless.